Welcome back to SportsVibe. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Jitesh Ramakrishnan. Kapil Nathan should be joining us shortly, but we've got another week of NFL recap. We'll also probably talk about latest college football rankings. We're officially under a week away from Selection Sunday for the playoff. We'll also know where every team goes bowling, including Rutgers, but we'll probably get to that a little bit later. But yeah, Jitesh, I know you said you wanted to talk some hockey, so
Yeah,
let's start with that.
just a little bit. So I don't know if you saw, but Patrick Kane has now signed with the Detroit Red Wings, and
I
well,
did see that. Yeah.
this guy seems to love his original six teams. First drafted by Chicago in 2007, becomes a legend there. Then signs a one-year deal with the Rangers last year. Of course, that went to a first-round exit, and now he's with the Red Wings. Of course, Patrick Kane, arguably the greatest American hockey player ever. Um, and he's definitely going to add a lot of firepower to the Red Wings, along with mentorship, veteran leadership, and how to be clutch. So, I mean, I can't say I'm excited because Detroit plays in the East, and of course, you and I are both fans of Eastern Conference teams. So that part's going to suck. Well, then
Mm,
again, you're in the Metro, so
right.
theoretically, if the Devils were to advance to the conference finals, you don't only have to worry about the Red Wings there. Whereas us, we have the possibility of drawing them in the first or second round, and that would be a little bit tough. But I think this is a great signing for Detroit. So we'll see where it goes from there. And speaking of Detroit, let's talk the Lions Packers.
Oh yeah,
Listen, I was thinking we could talk. Speaking of Michigan, we could talk about the college football
No,
playoff
no, no.
rankings.
We're saving college football for last.
Okay, sure. So, Lions Packers. I think Jordan Love shocked pretty much everybody in the pretty much everybody by going into the den and getting a win. Jared Goff, he started off the season red hot. Now his turnovers are becoming a huge issue. Had like two or three credited directly to him on last Thanksgiving. You know, I don't think it's going to be a problem right now, but if this, costs them one or two games in the future, then, they have to, consider doing something. I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
he fumbled the ball like 14 times on Thursday.
yeah. And, but like, you have Hendon Hooker waiting in the wings. And like, why not give him a shot? Especially if, you guys clinch a playoff spot, see what you can do with him.
I mean, yeah. I mean, well, the Lions will definitely. Well, I can't say
Yeah.
definitely right now because Minnesota's under tail, but I'm still very confident the Lions will
Yeah.
clinch the NFC North. And anyways, that's a
mm,
three seed locked up. So
Yeah.
nothing will change
Mhm.
right there. So I mean, maybe
And
we'll
let's,
secure it by like week
yeah.
15.
Also want to give credit to Jordan Love. Hell of a game, 300 yards, three
Great,
touchdowns. And then,
great game.
and then at the end, the great run to kind of ice that game. Also credit Joe Barry. He's gotten a lot of heat these past, 2 years. He had a great game plan, and that was bring pressure after Goff while bringing four, and confusing him on defense. You got to give him credit here. This one.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So let's stay in the north. Let's talk about last night's game between
No,
the Minnesota
no,
Vikings.
you don't want to take care of the rest of Thanksgiving's first. You just want to jump
Oh yeah,
around.
uh, actually, yeah, let's do the Thanksgiving one. So I think right after that was Cowboys and Commanders. So Drawn Bland,
Uh,
another pick six.
oh
what
yeah,
Those
what a
are
game.
the
What
most
what
of
is it?
all time,
Five?
right? In the
No, no,
season.
Mhm.
in the season, five, right?
Yes, correct. We should know.
God
We
damn.
both our teams should know, unfortunately, at this point. So yeah, DPOTY in the conversation. I don't think he's there yet, but he should be in the conversation.
I mean,
Um,
well, with Miles Garrett might be out of commission because, like he said, he felt like some shoulder pop like after last game. So if he misses a couple, definitely a great opportunity for Deron Bland to work his way up the DPOY conversation.
Agreed. And we still have good players like what's his name?
CD,
TJ Watt. TJ Watt. Also,
TJ.
there
Oh, I thought we
he's
were
a
talking about the Cowboys.
yeah. TJ Watt's also in that conversation, and yeah. It's going to be down to those two at the end of the season, the way it shakes out right now. And, but like just based on history, Bland might win it, you know, pretty good. Although, he's had some shaky moments, especially against Philadelphia in Philly a few weeks back. But, one or two bad games, I don't think it should be too
No, I
much,
mean, I've noticed this while
Mm.
watching the Cowboys, and of course, when we got spanked on national television by
Mm.
I've noticed that the Cowboys corners, like they just tend to be like quite overly aggressive. Like when it comes to coverage,
Agreed.
like we saw
Yeah.
this we saw
Like
this
Trey Van
repeatedly
Dig's
with
like the same way.
no, like
I mean, I
I like
think
the way they play, but at the same time, it's an
Mhm.
extreme liability. But
Yeah,
so far, it's
I
worked in
think
Dallas's favor.
I think this is, like I don't know if that's Dan Quinn or Al Harris teaching them, but whoever is, they're doing a good job. Like a little
I,
bit too. You
I
need
mean,
to be aggressive.
Dan Quinn had similar schemes like that when he was the man of he
In
was the head coach
Seattle,
of the Falcons, and of
and
course
then in
with
Seattle,
that
yeah.
because we know how Richard Sherman was, ultra aggressive, lockdown. He was basically like the warden because he wouldn't
Hmm.
like like he would
Yeah,
just shut everything down, wouldn't give the opposing receivers any hope. But of course, like Richard Sherman wasn't like overly aggressive. He was just a ball
yeah,
hawk, like on the opposing receiver. Like
yeah.
Trayvon Diggs is overly aggressive, and that can be
Agreed.
either really good or really bad.
Hmm. Yeah, agreed. So the Commanders, right? There was a lot of bad play calling by Eric Bieniemy. Like going shotgun on 3rd and 4th and 1. You shouldn't do that. I don't know why he did that twice in a
I
row.
don't know.
And like Sam Howell, sure he's leading the league in passing yards, but he's throwing 50 times a game. So
What choice does he have? What choice does he
right,
have?
yeah. And like, is that gonna be good for him? I don't know. But Dak has been playing really good. He got 2 people fired. That's
Jack
when
Del
you can
Rio and
the defensive backs coach. Yeah. I don't think he's in the MVP. He's up there for MVP, but he's not the MVP yet. I think, there's some other players
yeah,
that should, be deserving right now.
we could debate this at the end. But my problem with the MVP, like over the past few
It's a
years, and I think
quarterback
you
award.
yeah.
It's a quarterback award.
You guys took the words out of my mouth. It's essentially a best quarterback award.
Hmm.
Right.
So yeah. So let's also the other one. Speaking of non-quarterback, let's go to Seattle. Geno Smith is having a still down year. I don't know why. Is it play calling? Something else?
Maybe it had something to do with playing against the 49ers defense for 60
That
minutes.
too. Yeah. 49ers defense, great showing. They didn't let up a single offensive touchdown. Obviously the one touchdown was a defensive pick six for Seattle, but Brock Purdy played great. Christian McCaffrey also played great. There's a team that, has gotten a lot of extra rest going into next week's huge
Oh man.
Eagles game. So yeah,
And
looking
Like
forward to that
anyone's
matchup.
last shot at
the thing is the
Eagles not
49ers
getting
are still
fined.
yet, and in my opinion, the 49ers are still yet to fire all cylinders.
Mhm.
They
That's
still haven't
true.
unlocked
Well,
like what they could
I
truly be.
think honestly, I think their best point right now of the season was against Dallas on Sunday Night Football. If
Yeah.
they play like that, like no reason they can't, win it all. So yeah. All right. So
Mhm.
let's talk about some of the Sunday slate of games, shall we? Um,
We could do
Uh,
Dolphins, Jets, and then we could just go in
oh
order.
yeah, I forgot. Yeah, Dolphins, Jets. Yeah. Blackfire.
that
Oof.
99-yard interception turned into a
That was
Hail Mary.
insane.
That
Yes.
is
I've
the
never seen that before.
if that is not a perfect microcosm of the Jets post 1969, I don't know what it. Well, then again, we also have the butt fumble, so
Yeah.
two
Mm.
So
microcosms.
yeah. Tim Boyle didn't do anything. I think this is a Hackett problem. It's clear, and the only
Well,
reason he has a job is because of some guy that doesn't have an Achilles right
well,
now.
well. Tim Boyle didn't do anything, but that's still a far lot better than Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
Sure.
Dolphins, they lost Jalen Phillips for the year. That's pretty significant given the year he was having, but they had a
And
That's
pretty
that
gonna
good
turf
game.
in
suck.
MetLife, man, taking
Mhm.
people.
Tua didn't have the best game, but he did what he needed to win. He should maybe be in that MVP conversation. Definitely not the
No,
top, but he should be there as well.
I haven't said Tua. I said it.
Mhm.
I've always been a proponent of a different T guy playing in Miami. I still think
Tyreek,
Tyreek deserves
yeah,
more MVP consideration
I
over
think he
Tua.
does.
I
I think he does.
100% believe that.
I think he does as well.
And this is coming
So,
from someone who hates the Dolphins.
mhm, yeah. So let's talk about the other game that played at MetLife this weekend.
The
Okay.
Obviously the
tank
chat.
ball.
Well, Giants won, so
No.
I
I don't know
think
if
You
that's a good
lost. You
thing.
lost. You
I think
lost.
Yeah, we
yeah.
We
lost.
won. We
We're
won.
screwed
Yeah.
now.
Obviously, Jitesh and I are Patriots fans. So I think Mac. This is his last game he's played in a Patriots
Yeah, that was
uniform.
He's done.
terrible.
He's done.
I don't know why we keep
I'm
keep him
just
out
like,
there.
here's what I think. He had a great rookie year. Took us to the playoffs, and then it all went sliding down the mud hole.
Hmm. I agree. I think I
You
think
know
it's
where it started? I think what screwed him off was when
2021 bye week.
No. It's not even that. Like post the 21 season, I think what screwed up was Josh McDaniels going to the Raiders. I mean,
I
because
think so too.
McDaniels is a good offensive coordinator. He's a horrible head coach. I think we all know that. Like,
Yeah. And I think, just everything since then, his quarterback coach is Joe Judge. Is that am I that's not
Arnav, you know a lot about that.
if
Yeah.
that's not insanity, I don't know what is. So, I think it's part on Mac, but I think it's all, part, on on the
And
Patriots
you
staff
also
as well.
forgot you also forgot Matt Patricia was the offensive coordinator last year.
Correct.
God, I mean honestly, considering how we can't score worth a damn this year,
Mhm.
with Bill O'Brien, give me back Matt Patricia. But
Yeah.
I think he's having a good time in Philadelphia right now, and we'll get to that soon enough.
I mean, like his okay, yeah, well, we will definitely get to that soon enough. But I think right now the Patriots should just lose out. It's a team that I've supported for so long, but this is the best way to do it. You're gonna have to get a high
Yeah.
draft pick.
I agree.
It's gonna be
This
your highest since Drew Bledsoe. I think it's what
yeah,
has to happen.
I mean,
But,
Yeah.
we've had top 10 picks during the Bledsoe era. I mean, of course, Richard Seymour is a famous pick right there, but
yeah,
we've never really been this close to the number one overall pick in 30 years. That's honestly a testament to how well the franchise has been relatively run for the past 30 years. I mean, of
yeah,
course, before the Tom Brady era, there wasn't really
mhm,
much to speak of,
yeah.
but we got to stop treating it like it's such. Like it pains me to say that, but we can't coast on
Mhm.
reputation anymore. We have to just start over. It
I
sucks.
think so.
It's going to be a rough few years for us, unless
And
if like
yeah, that
unless
can be
if we
just
find our
that.
diamond in the rough. But
Yeah, and I think that can be discussed as a later time. You
yeah,
know, so
Yeah.
let's go to
well, we
Tampa Bay
barely talked
taking.
about the Giants. I mean,
Yeah.
they technically won, but they still lost.
Mhm.
It's a
And
weird position because
and
like
who
now the
knows?
Giants are 2 games out of the wild card, but they're also
And
like the sixth
and
have
who
the
knows,
sixth pick.
Arnav,
So
with the way the draft works, Daniel Jones just might be the most expensive backup and quarterback in NFL history. He
yeah.
might.
I've kind of been
Mhm.
more on Daniel Jones' side, but I mean, seeing what I've seen from Tyrod Taylor and now Tommy DeVito, like DeVito looked like pretty good, and Jalen Hyatt really got going
In the
too.
past
Like
two
that's
games, in the
I
past
don't
two
know if
games, he
Daniel Jones
played
would have
pretty
made
well.
those throws. Like he looked good, like throwing the high end. I know like the rest of it wasn't great, but I mean like still like I mean it's
May,
just
maybe
what
it's
are
the
we
Italian
doing here? Like
maybe it's the Italian food coming from the New York area, which
it
is
could
like
be
giving
it's
him
like
super
this thing or whatever. So like
it's giving him super strength. I don't know,
yeah, it could be. It's a
but
feel good story. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen the rest of the season. The
but
Giants are
let's
gonna have to earn it because they play the Packers, they play the Saints, they play the Eagles twice. Although one could be a rest game, and
well
they
that
play the
sounds
Rams. No,
that sounds
anyway,
like that sounds like a lose out to me, honestly. But
it might be
Matt,
for the better, honestly. So we'll see.
Mac Jones, like I'm sorry, buddy. Um,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
I
over.
don't think you're making it past this, and Bailey Zappi is definitely not the answer. Here's my question: why the hell aren't we starting Malik Cunningham? Like we've seen for weeks now that Jones and Zappi can't live it up. Headley, and I
Mhm.
just saw that we brought back Will Greer on the practice squad. Give those two a chance. What do we have to lose at this point?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
All right,
lose, I guess those are kind of the two best options. So
Right.
yeah. Okay, let's talk about the team losing out, the Titans and the Panthers,
Oof.
you know, and yeah, they fired. So we had an interesting coaching change. The Panthers fired Frank Reich.
I don't agree with this. I
I
don't
do not. I
no,
strongly
It's
disagree.
not
And
his
the reason
fault.
for
Yeah.
no
and
for a multitude of reasons. First thing, this is the second coach David Tepper has fired in 2 years. That's already not a good look. Second of all, this is Bryce Young's rookie year. There will be growing pains. Not every quarterback you pick in the first round will be like Patrick Mahomes or whatever. That's not going to happen. I mean, it would be nice if that happened, but it's not going to. And third of all, like this is in the midst of a season. What is this going to do to the locker room? Like Frank Reich has known these guys for months. Uh, like what's this going to do to Bryce Young's confidence? It's
I
already
think
not great.
Jitesh, what Bryce Young's confidence? What about his development? But like it's he's he was touted as this quarterback ready class, and is it on Frank Reich some of the play calling? Yes. Is it a
Yes.
little bit on Bryce Young as well? To a certain degree, yes.
I
But
mean,
I
to be
think it's a
fair,
bigger.
to be fair, Frank Wright isn't like going behind the play sheet. He's not the one going like, All right, Bryce. Throw an interception right now to the dude 30 yards behind. Don't throw an interception. Frank Wright is not doing that. But to be fair, some of the scheming has been quite awful on the Panthers offense. But
Agree.
I still but
I don't
I
dis-
think
I
at the
think
worst,
if they were going
like
to fire
Frank
him,
Reich
they
should
should have
have
done it
stuck
after the
through his rookie
season.
year.
I
No,
think
no,
so.
Frank Reich should have stuck through his rookie season, regardless of whether you fire him at the end or not. He should have stuck with Bryce.
I think
Well,
so.
he should have been allowed to stick, I should say. And now David Tepper's going to have to hire a third coach in 3 years. Like this should tell you as an owner. I mean, not as an owner. This should tell like incoming free agents, incoming draftees. David Tepper has a really short leash and has a thorough lack of patience. That's not good for development of a franchise. That's really not good.
I agree. The Titans, they didn't play, but Will Levis didn't play bad, but it wasn't eye-popping either. But they needed to do what they need to win. The Titans, they're not going to be winning the Super Bowl, but they're not going to get the number one draft pick this year. They're kind of in limbo, and that's probably what you want to see out of Will Levis right now. He's making all the throws, but he's not like making any like really really bad mistakes or anything like that. And that's what you want to see. That's encouraging.
Yeah.
So speaking of mistakes, let's go to Jaguars and Texans. And boy,
Oh
were there a
man,
lot
that,
of
that that was a fun game though.
it was a fun
it
game to watch.
was a fun game, but the refs, I think there was a lot of
But first thing
controversial.
I want to get this off my chest. The Houston Texans uniforms they're wearing this time, they
Mhm.
look like an USFL team. Like you just look like a red Sharpie. Like that's what you just look like.
Jitesh, is this, are you kind of trying to give
Oh,
a message or
oh,
something?
I didn't even realize you're wearing a USFL shirt.
Much less let me go into every single game. But no, I like the uniforms, but let's just focus
Yeah, I
on the
like the all
game.
red, but yeah.
Bad refereeing, everywhere. It was clear that, for some reason the refs did not want the Texans to win. CJ Stroud, he played a good game. And like the only thing I would say is that those two sacks at the end, they kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah, 100%.
mhm. Those
That's who
were,
like
those
that's
are
who he's
teaching
scrambling
moments.
backward. That's who.
Yeah.
Why are you scrambling backwards? Come on, CJ. Why
I
are
mean,
you
like,
scrambling
I,
backwards?
I mean, like, with all the magic he's done this year, it's okay. I mean, like, but this is a teaching moment for him. Don't do that going
No,
forward.
you don't
And,
scramble backwards as a quarterback. You
mhm,
scramble laterally.
But like when a defensive lineman's chasing you, obviously,
Yeah,
it's
that
not
is
that
true.
easy.
And that's who, like,
It's okay.
I
I
mean,
mean, like, we can give him a pass this time. I mean, like, it's just one. It's like one mistake.
it's basically been his one blemish this season,
I agree.
aside from the Panthers game.
Yeah, I think so. So next one we have to talk about is another AFC South matchup, the Buccaneers and the Colts. The Colts played, pretty decent. Gardner Minshew, clean game, I think, except for one turnover. But this Colts team is in the wild card spot. Imagine saying that at
Who
the
would have
beginning of the
thought that?
year. Would have
Who
thought.
would have
And
thought that?
great work by Shane Steichen. I'm,
I mean,
surprised.
you
I'm
could
like
make an argument that he could be coach of the year. You could
you
make an
could,
argument,
you could. I agree.
but I
Hmm.
still give it to Dan Campbell.
I still give it to Dan
Yeah,
Campbell
it
as
probably
well.
has to be Dan Campbell
Uh-huh.
up there
But
for sure.
Shane Steichen probably has a few votes right now.
Yeah. So let's also talk about Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers. Baker, he didn't have a bad game. He had just one mistake.
And
I think it's
Mike
just he
Mike Evans had a fantastic game.
had a fantastic game. Yeah, the Buccaneers offense was, fine. It's just I think towards the end they kind of stumbled. The Buccaneers
They
defense
got
wasn't,
sluggish. They
yeah,
got
the Buccaneers
sluggish.
defense wasn't helping either. And when you have that at the end of games, if you're trying for an NFC South the division championship, you can't do
Well,
that.
well, this is
It's just
turning. Well, this division right now, it's looking like the 2020 NFC least. You remember that one,
yeah,
Arnav, where no
I
team
agree.
was like where every team was basically 6-10, aside from
Yeah,
Washington. I think they're
Yeah,
like 7-9 or seven
right.
eight
yeah.
one.
Yep, seven
Mhm.
and nine. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then that was a crazy division, but
Yeah. So
Giants
so
missed the
let's also
playoffs
yeah.
that
So
year.
let's also
Anyway,
let's also talk about the NFC South, the Saints and Falcons. Jesse Bates. He should probably be on an All-Pro list or two this year. Very well deserved. I think the Saints offense.
What
It's just
offense?
a. Yeah, I agree. It's their. I don't know if it's Derek Carr, if it's their play caller or both. I think you
I
could put.
don't I don't believe it's on Derek Carr.
I don't think so. I think it's
I
the play caller.
Pete Carmichael, he can't even manage a car wash. Like he's
Yeah.
just completely inept.
I think there's a little bit of blame to go around both sides. Michael Thomas has been put on IR. Chris Olave left with a concussion. So, but I think Pete Carmichael, he definitely has to go. There are some better options
And
out there.
I think you could also argue Dennis Allen also has to go. I
I
think
don't
you could make that argument.
I don't think so. He had his defensive game plan was solid. We forget, seven of those points came off a pick six. So I don't
Yeah,
think it's
that is true.
him entirely. I don't think it's entirely him. But if he wants to keep his job, right, he has to fire Pete Carmichael. And there are some great options out there to replace him.
Ben
Speak,
Johnson. Oh, sorry, I had a bad cough.
all right. Speaking of bad offensive coordinators, let's talk
You would
about the
know.
Steelers.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Talk about the Steelers.
freed
And
from the curse of Canada.
yes,
In
they've
the I saw a stat. First time in 58 games, the Steelers posted 400 total all-purpose yards.
I think it's
I
59. 59.
Oh yeah, 59 now. But
But yeah.
nearly 4 seasons. It took them nearly 4 seasons to crack a 400-yard game. Like, think about it. The last time that happened, Ben. No,
They were
wait.
together, but they were in the league.
Le'Veon was not on the 2019 team, and same with AB.
This is well,
This is
they
just
were in
Ben
the league.
Roethlisberger. Yeah.
They were in the league. They were in the league. All of them were in the league. So that's pretty insane to think about. And like shout out. I think Mike Sullivan. I don't think he's going to be the answer. I think there are a list of options that the Steelers they can't rush this. They cannot. They have if they do that, that's what's is going to cost Kenny Pickett's development as well.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned Michael Sullivan because like there's also a Michael Sullivan who coaches a different Pittsburgh team. He coaches the Penguins, whereas Mike Sullivan is the quarterbacks coach for the Steelers.
And
So
play caller. So
I'm
think,
not saying there's a connection, but there just might be.
I think some of the list that the Pittsburgh should put together is Shane Waldron, who's on a hot seat right now in Seattle. Frank Smith, who's led Miami to an unbelievable offense so far. I think Wes Welker would also seem like an under the radar option. Because remember
he's not exactly great in advising about catches. We've seen that before.
Well, that one drop still hurts, but he made a lot of plays for us. I mean, like, I'm not gonna, one drop, sure that hurts, but
if it hits your hands, you can catch it.
Yeah, I agree.
I stand by that.
But I'll tell you why Wes Welker. He has he's a wide receiver, and you drafted George Pickens, and he was expected to have the superstardom year. You also gave $18 million a year to Deontay Johnson, and they haven't shown much. So I think he'd be a pretty good offensive coordinator coach. Byron Leftwich, who was Big Ben's backup and won a Super Bowl. Also Tom Brady's Tampa Bay play caller, his 3-4 years there. So I think you have to consider him as well.
That could be a good option.
I think Antoine Randall L, obviously a former Steelers, wide receiver.
That'd be such a Steelers move, though. Like, I mean, I get it. Like the infusion of culture, you want to preserve the identity, but like, really, I mean,
like if have you seen his work in Detroit? Amon-Ra St. Brown, like he's one of the top receivers in the league.
And also the Steelers did win the Super Bowl in Detroit with Jerome Bettis making his last stand as the boss.
Yeah, and like Jameson Williams coming on nicely. He's not his 2021 version yet, but he's getting close. Then also Alex Tanney, who's also Philadelphia's quarterback coach right now. He's helping Jalen Hurts. He's that dual threat that you kind of drafted Kenny Pickett to be as well. So I think those are not exhaustive, but those are a few people that you definitely need to consider. I think you should hire Randall L because he's a Steelers receiver. He knows the system, and more importantly, he knows how.
I would imagine that the system has changed over the last 15 years. Let
me rephrase. He knows Tomlin. He knows Tomlin well.
No,
and I think
that for sure.
Yeah, and he would develop Pickens and Johnson a lot better, and help Kenny Pickett make those throws that he needs to. So the Bengals,
the Steelers are like the most. What are they? 7-4. They're like the worst, like 7-14 ever because like in all of their wins, they've been consistently outgained, outplayed, and yet TJ Watt he sold his soul to the devil or something, and Mike Tomlin definitely sold his soul to the devil.
Speaking of Steelers defense, they played a great game, but obviously Joe Burrow's out for the year. The Bengals off didn't do much.
I didn't think Browning was all that bad.
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think they
think he
just
was all that.
failed to consistently move the ball. I think is probably the best
Yeah.
option. And Bengals
And
defense, they kept it
Jamar
in the
Chase
game.
was surprisingly good without Joe Burrow as his quarterback.
Yeah. Remember, people forget Jake Browning is what is considered like one of, if not the greatest high school quarterback of all time. You know, he led Washington to a CFP berth. You know, it's not that he's bad. It's just I think he needs to get more consistent. And I don't think Cincinnati's making the playoffs, but
Probably
yeah, it's just
not.
going to be a
I mean,
tough. It's going to be
how
that tough
can they
year.
right now? Like the AFC
Yeah.
North, like
Mhm.
AFC North is like
Baltimore's on
stacked right now.
fire. The Steelers are just using like the Harry Potter magic to somehow get into the playoffs. And the Browns, even without Deshaun Watson right now, they're still in considerable hunt. Well, definitely not after their failure to the Broncos, but they're still above the Bengals. Like the Bengals' best option, honestly, right now is to maybe slide down and go for like a relatively top pick, and then
Player
like
that
trying to
the
regroup.
player they should be targeting right now is Brock Bowers. Imagine, adding him to that offense.
Ooh, be
And
deadly.
especially when T Higgins might walk during free agency.
Yeah.
Might walk.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of walking, let's talk about the Rams and Cardinals. Cardinals sleepwalked this game. They lost by 23 at home in a game I thought might be
Well,
rather
that's the
close.
strategy.
Yeah.
That's the strategy. Keep
I
losing.
think I think this, I thought it kind of might have been a little close, but LA, give credit to them. They came out. Matthew Stafford came out firing. Kyron Williams, fantasy god for this week. Great win. Rams defense was also playing great. Cardinals offense, not so great. Cardinals defense also not so great. Can't say much more. Speaking of great, let's go to the Chiefs and the Raiders. We'll come back to a
Well,
certain great game later.
the Raiders started out really good at
They
first.
started out red
They did.
hot.
They're
I
up
think
14-0 early, and I was like,
14.
wow,
And I was getting ready to laugh at the Chiefs, but then again,
they came
as I
back. Yeah.
but then again,
Um,
it's a meaningless win for the Chiefs because the Raiders aren't a real team. So the Chiefs have been the most fraudulent team this entire season. Of course, that's not a secret. Everyone who denies it just loves Patrick Mahomes too much
Sorry,
and
wait, I have a
Travis
cough.
Kelsey.
I have a cough. Dallas and Miami. Sorry,
Yeah.
maybe those two teams are also kind of frustrating
Yeah,
as well. But
probably. Yeah.
you have to give credit for the Chiefs. On the road against a division rival. They've kind of seemed
They
that
spanked the Raiders for years, kind of like how
yeah.
we spanked the Jets
Well,
for years.
well, this year they're having some tough fights against division opponents. And like they blew the Chargers game open. They kind of struggled against the Broncos. They struggled against them, especially in Denver. So give some credit. I think the Chiefs.
It's because their offense is not as good as they were, but their
And
defense is a top 10 unit. Their offense
yeah,
is just meh.
it's not meh. It's definitely top 10. It just needs to find out what works. And I'm
Like
pretty sure Andy Reid will do that.
it's starting to flatten. It's a bit uninspiring. I mean, of course, all you need really is just like a 50-yard spike. It's just a 50-yard like dash to Travis Kelsey, and immediately you're back
Yeah.
in it.
Hmm.
So, of course, by no means am I ruling the Chiefs out. I'm just saying that they look a lot weaker than what they were over the past couple of years.
I think so. So let's also talk about so speaking of past couple of years, let's talk about the Bills and the Eagles. And this
Uh,
was I think game of the year so
Mm,
far.
game of the
Great game.
yeah, definitely.
I
I mean,
loved
at
watching the
least game of
Bills
the week.
choke.
It was a good one.
I
It was a
loved
great
watching the Bills. Josh Allen is now 0 for 0 for 5 or 0 for 6 in
6. Yeah.
overtime, and it's so great. I would say you have a chance to be 0 for 7, but it seems like you might not get that chance in January, Josh.
Yeah.
But
Let's
fingers
talk.
crossed.
Let's talk about this game, right? Philly obviously another game where they went down by 10 points early. I mean, the score was 17-7 at the half. Jalen Hurts, when trailing, is turning into Tom Brady for some reason.
Yeah.
It is working. The overall stat line does not impress, but the efforts that he did, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, two on the ground, I think.
And this is the second time in as many weeks that the Eagles were down 10 points at the half, and they've roared back to win.
Yeah, and it's a testament to this Eagles team heading in. They're 3-0 in the gauntlet. I think that many of us termed. That I think the sports world is termed as the gauntlet. They're 3-0 so far.
I think so.
They have 2 huge games coming up against Philly and against Dallas. They can get through those 2 teams. I
Yeah,
just don't see
Niners
a way
and
this
Dallas.
team.
Yeah.
I don't see a way this team loses again. Honestly, if that happens, so.
Probably not, unless there's maybe week 18 if they sit their starters against the Giants. But like other than that, they're rolling.
It's probably a smart move forced the Giants to
Okay.
accidentally win,
Oh, and ruined their draft status again.
you're still in the 1 seed at 15-2 or whatever,
Oh
maybe
yeah,
even
they're gonna
14-3, and
yeah,
then
something like that.
you force the Giants to accidentally win. The
Oh
Cowboys
boy.
are trying to win to get into the wild card, so the Cowboys will have like a top 20 pick. The Giants will probably slide down to like 14th or something.
Oof. It's gonna be
See,
rough,
So
but
4D
yeah.
chess. I'm pretty sure this is what Nick Sirianni's thinking. I'm pretty sure about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Ravens and Chargers next. Speaking of Sirianni, his former team, against the Ravens. This was, it was kind of a doozy, honestly. It was like, I mean, the defenses both looked great in this game. I mean, like,
So I would surprisingly say this game did not really like you can't really blame Brandon Staley that much for this game.
I think so either. I meant like, and if Zay Flowers had gone on, this game would have gone down after the first down market. It would have been 13-10. So I mean, like, is Brandon Staley going to be fired? Almost certainly, but it wasn't like as bad, a loss as it would seem. This game was close kind of throughout. Justin Herbert's offensive line was not good, and his receivers also not good.
Justin
So
Herbert nearly got killed on the field.
I agree, and
Mhm.
And Justin Tucker once proved again he's not immortal. He missed a very clutch kick that
yeah.
could have sealed the game at that time, but luckily Zay Flowers was there to pick him up.
Yeah. Credit the Ravens also, started
Wait,
out
was
really
it Zay
slowly.
Flowers or was it Rashad Bateman? I forget who
It
scored the
was
touchdown.
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers,
Yeah,
sorry.
credit Todd Monken, credit, Mike McDonald had a great game plan. They came out, they executed it pretty well. Todd Monken, less so, but he got the job done. And that's all you can say for this Ravens team. To me, they're probably the best team in the AFC right now. I know some people say Jacksonville or the Kansas City. I think this team's
The thing
probably the
is,
best.
I don't I like Jacksonville's a nice team, but have they really taken that next level to what they can be? I mean, sure, they've
I don't
posted
think so.
repeated games of what their offense could be, but they haven't shown it on a consistent basis. So
I
that's why
think so.
I'd put Jacksonville more like a tier 2 in the AFC.
Yeah.
Baltimore's at like the tier 1. Kansas City by reputation's at tier 1, but if we're
Mhm.
going by current play, I'd probably put them at tier 2. The Bills
Yeah.
suck, so tier 3. The Dolphins are allergic to beating 500 teams, so tier 3 as well. So really, like if you think about it, really like this is the NFC Super Bowl to lose.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah,
NFC's.
Mhm.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
Speaking of to lose, let's talk about the Bears and the Vikings last night. Very
Of
forgettable game, but credit Justin Fields for coming in. He had all these turnovers. He wasn't getting anything done past the line of scrimmage, and then
Speaking of turnovers, Josh Dobbs was god
yeah,
awful.
Oh
and
man.
and the Vikings are considering benching him, though I don't think all of it was on him. Some were, some, tips. It's not, all on him. Some of it, like the first
It,
one, definitely
it
was on
was a
him.
very ugly game.
Yeah.
Very ugly.
Very
Well,
ugly.
then again, Arnav, you mean Kapil? We watched an even uglier game, so
Yeah.
I
we'll
actually,
let him
Mhm.
talk.
I thought you guys didn't watch it actually,
I
but
decided,
No,
I
like
kind of had it
decided
I
on
watched
while streaming.
parts of it, not the whole 60 minutes.
I
I
watched the
think
last, yeah, I watched the last drive and that was it. And I was
I
happy we missed.
see.
So,
I think if I watched 60 minutes of our game, like I think bashing my head into the wall repeatedly until my skull bled would have been a far more pleasant experience. I
yeah.
think that.
Uh-huh. So
Well,
let's talk.
yeah.
So let's talk. Okay, so let's talk about a pleasant experience for me. I did go to the Iron Bowl in person and Jordan Hare.
Wait,
So let's talk about.
we didn't talk Browns Broncos.
Oh, Browns Broncos. Yeah, that's interesting. I think forgettable game, but credit Sean Payton, man. He's doing an unbelievable job in Denver. Not a lot of.
He might even have Coach of the Year nomination
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, like
Might.
with all that draft capital, gone. He's showing why they traded for Russell Wilson. Their defense, though, man. After that Miami game,
Unbelievable.
I don't
Yeah, they've
know
been a
what
lot better.
I don't know what Sean Payton or Vince Joseph told them, but they've been, playing, no fly zone type. And it's honestly fun to see
I
sometimes.
mean, it's not every day you hold the Chiefs to 9 points.
hmm It's not every day you
You
hold a
you
team to
run
12 points,
yeah, you run a simulate no, like we're just talking the Chiefs specifically. You run 100 simulations on that. Chances you score 9 points again. Well, you hold the Chiefs to 9 points. I'd give them what,
Very low. Very low.
5%?
Yeah. Great job by Denver's defense. They've got Denver's offense. They're getting there. They're not like the best of the best, but they'll be getting
It's
there.
not clicking just yet, but it's taking
It's
drastic improvements.
It is, and that's what they need right now. I mean, like they're what 6-5, winning record for the first time in 2 years.
Hottest team in the league right now.
Agree. And they have divisional dates against the Chargers twice. They have the Raiders, coming up soon. Again, they'll have the Raiders again soon. If they don't choke, if Russell Wilson plays like he's playing right now, limited mistakes, pushing the ball downfield. I would love to see that a lot more.
Denver needs to win out against their against their West
And
rivals. They need
I
to.
think Denver. They also. I think the one criticism I have of the offense right now, there's no downfield shots. There's not. I mean, like it seems like the first 5 weeks they took a few.
Their offense seems like fairly conservative.
It does, and is that trust issues? I don't know, but if you drafted Marvin Mims in the second round and only using him on punt and kick returns, that's not a good look. You don't draft a second round player just for that. You draft them to be a little bit everywhere. So yeah. So let's talk about pleasant experiences. I did go to the Iron Bowl in Jordan-Hare. Best
That was
$300
crazy, insane finish.
best $300 I've ever spent. My friend took the video that's currently circulating around the globe of the final touchdown catch.
Wait,
Great
he
game.
did that?
Oh,
He did that.
wow.
Yes.
Damn.
He did
It's
that.
been all over social, yeah.
Yes. Okay. When you come to the Iron Bowl, you got to toss out all the records, especially in Jordan-Hare.
Yeah.
Bama, Georgia struggled here too, so you have to give them some credit. Georgia also struggled against Georgia Tech, interestingly, and they're still ranked number 1.
Right.
Michigan, man, we'll have to talk about that, in the next part. But Michigan, great performance in D game. Washington, might have seemed kind of slow, but they took care of business. Florida State, without Jordan Travis, goes into the swamp wanting an upset. They pull it off, though it wasn't overwhelmingly convincing either. Oregon stays at 5 after an unbelievable performance against Oregon State in Corvallis. Ohio State dropped to 6. I thought that was pretty interesting. We'll get to that. Texas at 7, Bama at 8. So I think this is something we're gonna have to discuss in the next part.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's our NFL recap. We're gonna get to more college football rankings discussion as the playoff is, gonna be announced soon, and some more college football. So we'll see you in the next part. And this has been another episode of SportsVibe.